Okay, y'all, let's get straight into it. I want to talk about this last episode of Real Housewives of New Jersey and what I think. Um, I love this episode because Danielle finally got activated. That was probably the best part of this episode, was seeing her get activated. The second best part was seeing miserable Marge get pretty much what she deserves, even though she really still didn't get what she deserves. But let's start talking about this scene right here where these three were talking. And of course, Rachel, Miss Whoville, was sticking up for Margaret and making it seem like she has so much loyalty to Margaret, who obviously is her leader. We know Margaret has to have her minions, and Rachel is just a new addition to her little minion group. So they're talking about that. But Danielle pretty much was letting her know, like, I wouldn't have done that. And I'm happy she told her to her face, but she said that it was okay for them to move forward. So Danielle talks to Melissa, or Nose Lissa, as I like to call her 5 nose jobs, like Jacqueline said. When Danielle is telling Melissa, the rumor, Melissa says that she's not surprised. She already knows it, and 6 months ago, which is so interesting because if you've known it 6 months ago, why are you just now saying something and acting like you have a problem with it? But okay, we'll get to that later. So Danielle is trying to let her know, like, yeah, this is what Margaret's friend is saying. And I love the fact that Danielle is actually trying to be one of the people holding Margaret accountable. Margaret does a lot of manipulating and a lot of vindictive things, and she's gotten away with it for quite a few years now, but I see the general public is finally starting to see through her antics and see that she's actually very conniving. But Danielle's trying to let it be known, like, Margaret, this stems from Margaret, who is your friend, and this rumor comes from her telling this rumor about the guy to her former friend, Laura. Laura is not just making this up and throwing this out, out of thin air. She's literally telling everyone what Margaret has been saying about them because they're no longer cool anymore. And as gossipy as miserable Marge is, it's very, very believable that she was talking about Melissa. People who gossip like that not only talk about other people to their friends, they talk about their friends' business to other people too. So Danielle's trying to get Melissa to see it. And of course, Melissa is so obsessed and jealous of Teresa. Okay, and I'm happy people are finally starting to see that too. She's blaming it all on Teresa. She's blaming it on Teresa, saying, oh, and Teresa sat down with my husband. No, sweetheart, Louis said it himself that he talked about it with Teresa and he decided to call Joe and tell him about it. Why are you still blaming Teresa for everything? That's just her go-to. Oh, blame Teresa, 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 Teresa. So, miserable, messy Marge heard her name over there in the conversation. Of course, she was eavesdropping anyway because she's desperate and thinks she needs to control every situation. So, Marge walks over and tries to argue with Danielle, throwing out insults. And really, Marge, it's giving frantic. It's giving you're nervous, you're shooketh. It's giving you're bothered because you know that Laura is your childhood friend and Laura is not lying. You know that Laura, whatever you did to piss Laura off, you shouldn't have done it, okay? You might have thought you were big and bad and, like you are in all your other friend settings, and she has a hold over all her friends as she does Melissa, Jackie, whomever else. But what it really is they're afraid of her arsenal. Like Danielle has been saying, they're afraid because they know that she has information on everybody. But Laura is spilling the beans, and Margaret seems terrified. That's why she's trying to yell and overtalk Danielle, yell and overtalk the others, because she really doesn't want to talk about it. She knows that she was talking about Melissa in this situation. So I'm happy in this scene, Danielle actually got up and did not cry this time. She actually got up and she checked Marge and told her, don't come for me. That's what I'm talking about, Danielle. You cannot sit there and cry when she spews out all this hatred. No, you need to come back at her, let her know what time it is. And that this episode, Danielle got activated, and I'm happy she got up in Margaret's face and show her that she was not afraid of her. That's what you have to do to big bullies like Margaret. I'm also very annoyed that Margaret keeps throwing out there to Danielle, that's why your brother doesn't talk to you. That's why your family doesn't talk to you. You'll always have issues with your family if you keep acting like this. That is so ridiculous and hypocritical of miserable Marge to say that when your children that you've been around and raised don't even talk to you, sweetheart. So you cannot talk about family members not talking to you when your children don't talk to you. Your children don't want to be around you, and Jan, God rest his soul. I don't even know how Jan was able to talk to you with what you did and all the cheating that you did. But it's just crazy how Margaret also got away with what she did to Bill and Jennifer. And people actually thought she was justified in that because Jennifer talked about Margaret's infidelity. But the difference is, Margaret, you were the one that did the cheating. Okay, it's not the same thing. It would be different if Jennifer did the cheating, and was talking about women who cheat, but she did not cheat. She was faithful. That's why she had an issue with someone who's willing to cheat in their marriage, like you, Marge. That's why Jennifer said that. But for Marge to say, oh, well, it's even for me to talk about Bill's infidelity, that's not even, because you did the cheating, Marge. Okay, Jennifer did not. You and Bill are in the same boat, but Jan and Jennifer were in the same boat because they were the ones that were faithful. So how can you attack her with an infidelity that she did not bring into her marriage? She was not responsible for that. The same way you were responsible for the cheating in your previous marriage, and Jan was not. So, of course, Marge starts to blame Jennifer as well for doing all this stuff with Laura. And Jennifer starts to laugh. And I love how lighthearted she was with it at first. She starts to laugh about Laura spilling the beans. She's like, she spilled it all. And you could tell Margaret was just getting more and more upset about it because she knows it's true. So in this moment, she's upset. And after this, Jennifer does start to get emotional because Margaret said something like, well, Bill slept with a subordinate and your daughter will know that, because prior to that, Jennifer said that, this is all Margaret's fault. Her daughter wants to be a marriage counselor because of this. And so that's what made Marge say that. But shortly after that, Jennifer started to yell and said the woman threw herself at Bill and got emotional, which I wish she would not have gotten emotional in front of Margaret. That's something they have to learn to do. People like Margaret, who are very narcissistic and things like that, they love seeing you get upset. Like, Margaret loves to hit a nerve. She loves to see you get upset. And even if you are upset, just read her down back, and then when you're not filming, then cry, then call Teresa, then, do whatever. But you can't give her the satisfaction of seeing you emotional. And that's how I know that infidelity was something that really affected Jennifer. Which, of course, it would affect anyone. But that you can tell Jennifer doesn't really care about a lot of things. But that's one thing that we've seen her get emotional about. And Marge knows that's a soft spot for her. She found it, like the villain she is. She found the weakness. And now that she knows that that's a weakness, she, is going to keep poking that wound. But Jennifer has to stop getting emotional about it in front of Margaret and standing tall and showing her that it doesn't affect her. Especially when you and Bill are past that. And it was clear as day in the scene shortly after Jennifer and Bill walk away and they were being affectionate to each other. So clearly they're past it, but Margaret knows that that's something that really affected Jen. But Jen, you have to stop showing it. So Teresa's biggest fan, also her biggest hater, Melissa, Noselissa as I like to call her, tries to, of course, come at Teresa in this moment and call her a loser and yell at her and try to really stir up some drama and blame Teresa as usual. She's just, anything that's happening, she's just redirecting it to Teresa. All roads lead to Teresa in Melissa's mind. It's really crazy because, as we stated, and as Danielle keeps trying to get Melissa to understand, why are you blaming Teresa and Louis or anybody like that? You should be getting upset with Margaret and Laura. Margaret is the one who is claiming to be your friend, but talking about it to Laura, who now is spreading it to other people. So Melissa, of course, isn't listening to that. She just only sees Teresa. So she's doing the loser thing, and Teresa's like, you see that, Dolores? You see? Really probably just letting it be known, like, now if I curse her out or go off on her or something, don't blame me because you see what she's doing. But instead, I'm actually proud of Teresa. Instead, she actually just walked away and excused herself. And of course, Melissa's desperate for attention and camera time, and Teresa is her storyline, obviously, so she needs a moment. And so she chases Teresa, and Teresa's like, get away from me, get off of me. And she literally is ignoring Melissa the whole time, making her look pretty stupid. And that was Teresa's goal anyway. She told Louis, like, yeah, I just ignored her. Because in reality, ignoring Melissa hurts her and Joisha, or Joanna, as we should call him, Mr. Always Getting Upset with Women, they're obsessed with Teresa. She's their storyline. So arguing with her is great for them because that gives them more camera time, more storyline, and another contract. But if Teresa actually ignores them like she did in this scene right here with Melissa, that hurts them because it's like, if I'm ignoring you, what else can you say? What else can you do? Like, I'm not your moment. Find your moment somewhere else. Which, of course, that only makes desperate people like Melissa and Joanna more upset because they're not getting their way. And because people are starting to see through this whole victim thing. Melissa and Joe are always the victim, and they act like they never do anything wrong, and it's always Teresa's fault. And it's in reality not. That's just the picture they've painted successfully, but it's starting to fade. And I'm happy it's starting to fade, that people can see they're opportunists. Like Teresa said years ago, they're using her for clout, and they have been using her for many years. Lastly, Louis is there, and Melissa actually starts trying to antagonize an argument with Louis, and Louis is just, speaking back to her like, actually, don't blame Teresa. I'm the one who called Joe. And Joe admits it in the confessional that Louis called him. So he's like, yeah, I called him. Don't get mad. And Melissa's like, no, it was you and Teresa there, of course, blaming Teresa per usual. She's sticking to her script. Sticking to her script. And Louis just telling her whatever, and Melissa starts trying to insult him, like, why are your eyes looking crazy? Why are you looking like this? Now, I will say he does look a little bit red, probably too much tan. And then, of course, getting upset, and triggered every time you're around the group, and Melissa and, her desperate husband are so thirsty for a moment that you don't know what they will do and bring out, because they did attack Louis last season when Teresa brought him around. So, of course, I will be on edge, too. But it's funny because they get upset at Louis because he doesn't really care. It's like he gets under their skin. Joe doesn't like the fact that Louis doesn't fall into his dramatics and his antics, like it doesn't affect him. So as he's talking to, or responding to Melissa rather, because she initiated the conversation with Louis and tried to antagonize it, Joe starts trying to do his crazy thing that he used to do with Joe Giudice, get upset, yell, scream, start, incite a fight, incite an argument. And Louis just walks away with Danielle's husband like, whatever, pretty much, and makes Joe look stupid. So I'm happy Teresa and Louis are both doing that, making them look dumb, by walking away, because it's like, you don't get a moment. Now you make yourself look stupid. And it's allowing people to see how Joanna, and Melissa really are. They're opportunists and they're clout chasers, truth be told. So he walks down and he tells Teresa, what was going on. And Jennifer cracks me up with her face because she was laughing like he tried to start a fight. What? She went from being upset and crying to going down there laughing and smiling. It's just so funny to see all the ups and downs. But I'm sure being around that group, that's what it will do to you. But lastly, I really want to talk about the fact that there was a scene where Louis talks about the private investigator and how his friend is a private investigator. Now, I love this scene because it lets it be known that Teresa and Louis are now playing chess. And Teresa's not allowing them to do what they used to do to her. And that's why the tables are turning. They're playing chess. They're like, oh, Teresa, what do you know from the private investigator? And she's like, I don't know. But I know that she does know something, and I know Louis knows a lot of something. And I'm happy he put that out there, letting it be known. You guys try to put information out about me, but I have information on all of you now, so I would tread lightly. That's pretty much what I got from it, and I'm sure that's the message he was trying to send. And I actually like that. I like that he's getting Teresa to stop playing and to actually play chess with these people and do the things that they do to you, but do it better. So I'm excited to see if there's any information that comes out, because Melissa seems very guilty about this situation with the cheating rumor. She actually seems very guilty, and she seems very avoidant, like she wants to avoid the conversation completely. And Joe seems a little insecure about it, and I can see that in his facial expressions when Melissa came and talked to him about it. So there's definitely some truth to it, allegedly, or, in my opinion. They say where there's smoke, there's a fire. So you never know what he could have dug up with the private investigator. But it's his right. I know some people will say that's wrong, but in reality, they did it to him. last season. You know, Margaret dug up those girlfriends, like Teresa said, and that's why Teresa was upset, because she knows Margaret likes to play chess too and likes to antagonize and get all the tea and information on everybody. And Margaret dug up those girlfriends, and Margaret intentionally brought them up on the show. So don't get mad at Louis for now having a friend who's a private investigator that he can use to his benefit, because I would use it too. So you guys, that's all I have to say about this finale of Real Housewives of New Jersey season 13. It was interesting, but I was happy to see, like I said, Danielle get activated. I was happy to see Jennifer, Teresa, and Danielle actually as a trio. I'm hoping that their alliance gets stronger, because it's clear as day that Margaret has an alliance with Melissa and Jackie, and has had one for the last few seasons, and has been trying to sway Dolores as well, and it's been slightly working. And of course, now she brought Rachel in, who is kissing her butt as well, in my opinion. So it's good to see this trio of, Jennifer, Teresa, and Danielle, opposing Margaret and trying to hold her accountable for the little vindictive stuff she does. So you guys, let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode, this finale actually of the season 13 of Real Housewives of New Jersey, in the comments. Bye-bye. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.